are listening to the Angela Henderson Online Business Show, episode 288. Hey there, you amazing human, and welcome to the Angela Henderson Online Business Show, the podcast that is designed for female entrepreneurs who want to make more money in a way that is in alignment for them. If you're looking for practical advice, proven strategies, and expert insights to help you navigate the challenges of growing your business, then you've come to the right place. Welcome, my friend. I am your host, Angela Henderson, a proud Canadian living in beautiful Australia, and I'm a business coach, consultant, and strategist who has helped thousands of women around the world build successful businesses. Through solo episodes and interviews with successful business owners, industry experts, and thought leaders, you'll get insider insights into what it takes to succeed in today's digital age. Whether you're struggling to scale your business, looking for ways to boost your productivity, or seeking ways to overcome the challenges of being an entrepreneur, this show has everything you need to succeed and more. So subscribe, pop your headphones on, and get ready to creating the business and life you deserve today by allowing the Angela Henderson Online Business Show help you create a winning strategy, develop the right mindset, and build lasting wealth. Hey, you amazing human, and welcome back to another inspiring episode of the Angela Henderson Online Business Show. Today, we have a very special guest on the podcast. She is a peer, but also someone I call a friend, and that amazing human is Gianna. She is an expert in the world of hypnotherapy, guiding individuals and businesses towards reaching new heights of success. Her expertise in this field is truly unmatched, and I can't wait to dive into the transformative power that hypnotherapy brings to the business landscape. You see, hypnotherapy is a subject that has captivated the curiosity of countless entrepreneurs and professionals around the world. It's a fascinating concept, often, surrounded in mystery, but one that can truly be a game changer for businesses seeking that competitive edge. And I can't wait for you to hear all about how hypnotherapy has given me a competitive edge, what the benefits are, and what it's not, aka you do not quack like a duck. But before we dive into today's fascinating episode, I have an exclusive offer you won't want to miss. Have you ever dreamt of immersing yourself in a life-changing retreat surrounded by breathtaking nature and a community of like-minded souls? Well, I'm thrilled to announce that this podcast episode is proudly sponsored by my upcoming 4-day exclusive Bali retreat. Picture yourself rejuvenating on the sun-kissed beaches of Bali, experiencing daily workshops on professional growth and empowerment, connecting deeply with others on the same transformative journey, but not to mention the strategy that we will be able to work through. This retreat is a one-of-a-kind opportunity to escape the hustle and bustle of daily life and embrace a journey of self-discovery, business strategy, and empowerment. Whether or not you're seeking clarity in your business, better relationships, or simply a chance to unwind and recharge, this retreat has it all. Have you bought your tickets? If not, you amazing human, I do not know what you are waiting for. There are only a few remaining spots left for our Bali retreat. Again, you can get payment plans for just $75 per week. Again, no excuses. Do not know what you're waiting for. So head to my website, angelahenderson.com.au. Again, angelahenderson.com.au. And on the very top of the website, you're going to see a banner for the exclusive Bali retreat. Head there to save your ticket for the 4-day exclusive Bali retreat. Now, let's get back to our exciting podcast episode with Gianna. Hey, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hi, so great to be here.
Oh my goodness, I'm so pumped to be able to hang out with you again today or any given day. I know we had the opportunity to hang out in March together in Napa Valley, and I was like, can we just hang out a little bit longer? And I know we catch up with Zoom, so it's always a good day when I get to hang out with you. And an even better day when we're talking about the power of hypnotherapy and how this can really amplify or accelerate growth for business owners collectively. So I'm thrilled that you're here today.
Same. I could not be more excited. There's nothing I love more than having connected conversation and talking about hypnotherapy, of course.
And I know for me too, like the thing is that this is a topic that I actually haven't talked about. I mean, I'll say this, I talk often about hypnotherapy and how I use it, do you know what I mean, for myself and my business, but I've never been able to actually bring on someone who's a pro, AKA like yourself today. So this is really great because I'm really about normalizing hypnotherapy as a modality that I think everyone should be able to access and that everyone should explore within their business. So today is going to be a great conversation. But before we get started, I always like to ask my audience a fun question so that my audience, or I like to always ask the guest a fun question so my audience gets to know you a little bit better. So my fun question is I know it is summer over in the United States right now, and I saw you out, I believe you may have been with your partner fishing, do you know what I mean, out on a boat. So my
Yeah.
question is what is your all-time favorite thing to do during summer?
I love all things being in the sun. It's summer, put me outside. The sun is so healing for me. It's such an energy amplifier. I try to spend as many days as I possibly can outside. I'm like that person who is like putting all my clients back to back in one day so that I can, spend those nice days out in the sun. It's because it's such a short-lived time, in New England. It's like a 3-month window we have. So the answer is simple, but just put me outside
in the sun.
Put me in the sun.
I think for people like us, where I live in Brisbane, Australia, is like it's winter now. It will be 20 degrees Celsius. So maybe that's like 70 Fahrenheit for you guys or whatever. But we pretty much have the sun year round. It's very much like Florida. So we kind of are like, yeah, sunshine. But for you, crew, and my family up in Canada, they're outside every waking moment they have. Do you know what I mean? Because they know that the darkness is coming. They know that the cold is coming. And so, so I love that you're saying just simple sunshine. But I also think sunshine is such an important thing and something that is minimized just in general, right? People aren't getting outside as often as they should. And one of the primary things I believe to stay healthy and to stay grounded is just to be outside, breathing in the fresh air, getting in the sunshine. And I would assume like even in those colder months, do you know what I mean? There's something to be said about connecting with nature.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Whether it's like freezing out or like 90 degrees, like my husband and I are usually outside somewhere, whether it's snowmobiling through the woods or, out on our boat. We're just big outdoors people. So I could not resonate more.
That's something soothing. All right. So now my audience might be like, who is this amazing human from New England? Do you know what I mean? Who likes sunshine and snowmobiling? I also love snowmobiling. So can you tell them a little bit in a snapshot who you are and what you do for businesses?
Yes. Wow. So my name is Gianna Badot. I am a mindset mentor and certified hypnotherapist. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 18 years old. I've made my evolution through different phases of businesses, right? So I've been, doing health coaching, and it's evolved, into more holistic lifestyle. And now I'm a hypnotherapist and I work with entrepreneurs. So the way I got here, it's a really fun story. So I was scaling and growing my coaching practice that I had at the time, and I got stuck at a certain revenue bracket in my business. And I was, at this place where I had a mentor. I was working with Scott. I had a mentor. I knew I had all the talent, all the strategy, all the things that I needed. And like intuitively, I knew that under the surface, like there was a mindset block, right? I was the problem. Like I had everything else, right? So I'm like, okay, like what is this? And then I heard of this, thing called hypnotherapy. And I was a little bit hesitant at first. And I know we'll talk about this in a few minutes. And it's funny because when I reflect back on this now, it was actually positioned as brain hacking. And that's actually what got me in. Yes. I'm remembering this now. It was positioned as like brain hacking. And I was like, ooh, brain hacking. Let's hear about this. And then it was hypnotherapy. So I did 3 months of hypnotherapy, and I learned I had all of these money stories under the surface that were holding me back, that were keeping me stuck. And I had done a lot of mindset work. I mean, I've traveled all over the world studying mindset, Buddhist psychology, yoga, meditation. So I'm not like a newbie to like mindset work. So I was aware I had blocks, but there were things like in my subconscious memory that I had no idea that were running my business for me. And when I was able to like break through those blocks with my hypnotherapist, I ended up having a 50K month for like the first time in my whole entire life, which is like still absolutely mind blowing to me when I look back at where I was at that time. And, after all that happened, I was like, this is actually what my clients need. It's like, so this is what I want to do. Like, this is what it did for me. And I went out and got certified. So here we are now.
And here we are now. And there is the power of hypnotherapy. Like, again, anyone, and I talk often about this on the podcast, anyone can really create a strategy. I believe anyone can be a doctor if they wanted to. You just got to put the work in, figure it out, get certified, you're good. I believe anyone can have a successful business, but whether or not the common thread you end up finishing your doctor's degree or whether or not you continue in your business, I believe all comes down to the inner work. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think when I say it's all the inner work, because where I feel it goes wrong and where people get skewed sometimes is sometimes you just have a bad day. Sometimes someone passes away in your life that was unexpected and it throws you a curveball. It doesn't mean that there's all this trauma or inner work that you have to do. Sometimes it could be, like I say, perimenopause and menopause. Sometimes it could be that your kids are sick, right? Like, I don't think it's the end all and be all, but I do feel that if you say, have the funeral and go through the grieving part of that loved one, if you, your children get sick, or they get over their illness, but things are still showing up, that's when I'm like, that's where to me it's a sign that the inner work needs to be dealt with. And you'll know because the cycle will continue to perpetuate. The chaos will continue to be there. And I'm a firm believer, wherever there is drama, there is trauma, right? So if that's coming up in your world, again, that's where I'm like, the inner stuff we have to do. And so one of the things that I want to start with is talking about hypnotherapy, which is a topic that, if you think about how media has portrayed it over the years, you go on stage, you quack like a duck, or you fall over, or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I've learned over the last 2 years of doing hypnotherapy myself, this is not the case at all. So I just want you to share with the audience, just really in the most simplistic terms ever, what is hypnotherapy?
Yeah. So the simple way that I love to describe hypnotherapy, it's a heightened state of self-awareness where you are tapped into your subconscious mind, your subconscious programming, and the blueprint that is running your day-to-day behaviors, thought patterns, perspectives, all the ways that you see, show up, and perceive the world. Right. So it's a heightened state of self-awareness. When you're in a session, it's essentially like having a relaxed conversation with your eyes closed, right? You're not like drifting off into this transcendental state. It's the most relaxed you could be. And that's it.
And again, I like that you said it really is just that. Like when I've done mine, it's like I do mine in a dark room. I do mine when my kids aren't around so that there's no distractions. I also, just so if you're wondering, can you do hypnotherapy online or does it have to be face-to-face? I always thought it had to be face-to-face, but actually you can just do it online and it works a treat because I'm in the comfort of my own home. I don't have to drive an hour somewhere and an hour back. And I just do it on my iPhone. Do you know what I mean? And it works an absolute treat. So now, I personally knew when I first started out, do you know what I mean? When I first looked into hypnotherapy, I always kind of had it on my radar because of the media and the quack like a duck, right? But when I first started talking with one of our mutual mentors, Scott, I remember him saying to me at the end of a session once, don't forget to use your 12 free hypnotherapy sessions. And I was like, Scott, I've paid you $45K. This shit ain't free. Do you know what I mean? But I was like, don't worry, I'm going to do them. And the thing that was kind of holding me back, though, is that I didn't fully understand hypnotherapy. I was really nervous to start doing it because of all these thoughts and, again, what mainstream was saying. So I'd like to know a little bit more about, like, obviously we know quacking like a duck isn't happening, but can you kind of lay it on the table? What are some of the other common misconceptions about hypnotherapy? Because my main thing is I really want to normalize hypnotherapy for all human beings to be able to access, but obviously specifically in the business realm, because I feel like when you work with a hypnotherapist, you naturally will excel both in business and life. So what are some of the other common misconceptions?
Yeah. So the most common misconceptions that we hear about hypnotherapy is that it's sleep, right? You see those pendulums and they're like sleep, right? That's one of those misconceptions, that it's sleep, that it's a blackout state, that it's like what you see in the stage shows on, in Vegas or magic shows. There's also misconceptions out there that it's amnesia. It's like this mind control thing, that it's for the weak-minded only, or it's like a truth serum where you're going to spill out your deepest, darkest secrets or get stuck in trance. And none of that could be true because it's simply a heightened state of self-awareness, right? So you're not going to share anything against your will. Like you are I always say to my clients, like, you are co-creating this experience with me. Like you're part of your own healing. Like you are your healing, right? It's not like me waving a magic wand on you. Like we're in this together. It's like I'm holding your hand and guiding you on this journey into your subconscious mind, right? Where you can have this beautiful self-assessment of yourself and where you're at and what you really need, right? We also hear, you do hear these misconceptions out there that you can get like stuck in trance, right? If you do hypnosis, am I going to get stuck there? Will I wake back up, or will I be there for like hours on end? It's like, no, if I were doing a session with you right now, Angela, and I just, dipped out of the Zoom room, you'd just wake up,
Yes.
So those are the most common misconceptions that we see. There's probably many more, but those are the most common ones.
Now, one of the things that I want to rewind a bit is you keep using the word subconscious mind. And I know what that means because I've been in this space for a while. But to the listeners out there, can we just talk about the subconscious mind versus, say, rational mind versus day-to-day mind? Because I just want to make sure that they understand what you mean when you say subconscious mind.
Absolutely. This is a very important question. I'm so glad that you asked it. So essentially, we all have two minds. We have a conscious mind and we have a subconscious mind. And the conscious mind is responsible for logical, analytical, linear thinking, willpower, like the mind we're using to have this conversation right now, right? It's all, the conscious behaviors, decisions we make. Within your mind, you can think of it as your inner mind. I've heard people describe the subconscious as an inner mind. You have a subconscious, and this is where your beliefs, your emotions, your habits, your automatic bodily functions, your memories, it's all stored in your subconscious. So these are all the unconscious ways that you show up in the world, that you perceive the world, right? It's everything that you do that is unconscious. And a lot of the programming that's in your subconscious is rooted from the very early years of your life, because before the age of 7, you are, the most suggestible. Your subconscious mind is like a sponge. It's soaking up everything coming your way. So a lot of that programming that's in your subconscious is from those very early years of your life, which is now, plays out at, as unconscious patterns and the way we show up in our lives.
No, that's perfect. Just because, again, conscious versus subconscious. And I just think that, again, it was a topic that was so new to me. And I think that was about why I was so fearful. People are saying subconscious. What does that mean? I don't know what it means. Instead of looking into it anymore, I'll just block it and pretend it doesn't exist. So again, part of me normalizing more about these conversations and other modalities that might not quote unquote be mainstream, what you're consuming on your podcast or consuming on, your Instagram feeds or whatever, I think is important just so that people start to understand the baseline and kind of some of that jargon that is used within the space. So thank you for that. Now, hypnotherapy people might be like, well, that's all well and good, and I don't have I can't add another thing to my plate. I'm just so busy. And I'm like, I was just on another podcast before this getting interviewed. And one of the things that I said is, if you own a business, you've got time for hypnotherapy. And my opinion also is it's like when you go traveling, I'll hear these people, I'm going to take 10 weeks, I'm going to travel around the world, but I'm not going to get travel insurance. I'm like, what? Do you know, and America's one of your stops? Do you know, like, even to walk into an emergency room in America, you're probably going to drop thousands, and that's before you're even seen by a doctor. I'm like, you should not travel without travel insurance, and you should not have a business without hypnotherapy, in my opinion. All right, and I might rewind that actually, without doing the inner work, is what I should say. Maybe hypnotherapy is right for some people, but maybe working with a healer is a better way. Maybe one-on-one talk therapy will be a better way. So I'm going to rewind and actually take that back. In my opinion, if you have a business, you should be doing the inner work in whatever modality works for you. Hypnotherapy just happens to be one of those ways. So for those people out there are like, okay, maybe I need to start looking at this inner work. You've been preaching about it for a while in your podcast, Ange. How can hypnotherapy specifically benefit business owners in terms of not only just professional and business, success, but also personal growth?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of answers to this question. And the first and most important piece is you have to get your stuff out of the way. And this is part of the inner work, right? So if you are showing up and wanting to scale and grow a business, but under the surface, you have subconscious programming, you have unhealed trauma, you have, limiting beliefs that are running your business for you without you even realizing it because it's happening unconsciously, you're going to end up in these same cycles over and over again. You're going to end up with the same problem in your business over and over again. And you likely might not even realize why, that it's like, oh, it's this story. It's this unresolved trauma that just keeps showing up in different ways, right? Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, your stuff needs to get out of the way while you're scaling and growing a business, or else you're going to end up stuck in your own way. Right. Mm-hmm. And the second piece of this is that because hypnotherapy is this relaxing, heightened state of self-awareness, it allows you to show up as your best self, to be showing up as your most present, most aware self in your business. And we know that when you are more present, when you're more self-aware, when you're more grounded in yourself, you're going to make better decisions. You're going to make faster decisions. You're going to make more money. You're going to build better relationships. You're going to have better creativity, right? Everything gets better when you are in this state of alignment and self-awareness. So hypnotherapy, I think that's the word, is going to put you in this optimal state of alignment so that you can do everything you do in your business literally 10 times better, right? Mm-hmm. And then of course we can break this down in even smaller chunks and say, okay, you're having creativity blocks. Okay, let's break through what this block is on a subconscious level and get you into that state where you can show up in the creative flow that you actually want to be in. So with hypnotherapy, we're not just focusing on what you don't want, right? Like we're focusing on what the actual intended outcome is. So we can wire your subconscious mind to show up as that version of you instead of focusing on what you're not doing, right? So there's that heavy emphasis on what you actually want versus what's not working.
And that's important because, again, it's right there. You're already starting to rewire, do you know what I mean, old negative loopholes to positive loopholes, right? You're focusing on, okay, like this is, I want more money versus why am I not making more money? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, there's already like this positive connotation with it. And I personally think just in the world we live in, things are looked at just from like Debbie Downer negative lenses sometimes. And that's what I've loved about hypnotherapy is the reframe around whatever comes up is going to help you. Whatever comes up will move you forward. Whatever comes up will give you awareness, right? And also, again, just trust in that process. Now, people out there will be like, hypnotherapy is not for me. You know what I mean? I know it. It's just, it's not for me. So my question is can anyone be hypnotized, or are there specific individuals who are more like receptive to hypnotherapy or not receptive to hypnotherapy? What has your experience been?
I love this question. And the truth is, so many people think, like I get this question a lot when I'm enrolling new clients. Sometimes it's like, can I be hypnotized? Every single person can be hypnotized. And the best way to describe how and why is because there are so many times throughout your day where you are hypnotized without you even realizing it, right? For example, when you're driving on the highway and you're just cruising on through, you have no idea how you ended up in your own driveway, but somehow you got there. You were in this state of hypnosis. It's the same state that gets activated, which is your theta brainwave state, which is super scientific and techy. And if you want to get into that, we can. But it's a heightened state of self-awareness, as I've been repeating, right? So like, when you're scrolling on, Instagram, for example, when you're lost in a television show, that's the state of hypnosis. It's just this deep, deep, relaxed focus.
And again, for me, what I've also loved about hypnotherapy is it gives me 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the hypnotherapist that I'm using, but normally 45 minutes. It gives me that I've carved out and created space for me that is not about the kids, that is not about my partner, that is not about cooking dinner, that is not about all the have-tos. But it's just about, because some people feel like I have to do hypnotherapy and said, if I don't do it, I'm not going to be successful. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm suggesting you do it, not necessarily as a have to, but as a want to. I want to figure out why is it that when my boyfriend shows up 20 minutes late, I'm going to go batshit fucking crazy. True story. It happened. You know what I mean? And I was like, I knew that I was triggered and I knew that I had to tell him that I was triggered, but I was like, and I literally, once he got there, we talked about, I booked in for a hypnotherapy session because I value that relationship so much. I was like, I've got to get to the bottom as to why. And he's like, I just stopped to watch the sunset. And I'm like, I'm such a bitch. Do you know what I mean? Because who wouldn't want your partner to stop and enjoy the sunset, right? But for me, when we did the hypnotherapy, it was around when I was a little girl and waiting, do you know what I mean, for my dad to come home from the oil rigs or my brother to come home from university, that when I have to wait, do you know what I mean, for long periods of time, it, do you know what I mean, my nervous system gets deregulated and blah, blah, blah. But I knew. And so what I've also found is because I want to better myself, I want to be in better relationships, I want better communication. And sometimes the hypnotherapy sessions aren't about business. This is the other thing. Things come up like this. But because my home life is interconnected with my business, it's like you can't just do one or the other. Things will just naturally come up. And what I love about hypnotherapy is I go in with no agenda. They'll say, what do you want to talk about today? I'm like, and something will just come up, and that's exactly what was meant to be talked about. And then we do it. Mm-hmm. There's been a couple of times where, like, obviously I've gone in there and said, listen, I was triggered because of this. I don't actually know what I'm asking for, but all I know is that it's important that I like kind of look into it. And that's the beauty is hypnotherapy can go so many different ways. It's not just prescribed for, do you know what I mean? It has to be this way or it has to be that way. And I'm curious to know, in your experience, because I'll say mine, but I won't yet, is in your experience, how many sessions of hypnotherapy do you feel are typically needed to start to seeing results?
So I love this question too. So a lot of clients, if you have something very specific that you want to knock out, one session can be enough for a lot of people, right? It depends on what you're working on. It depends how deeply rooted the trauma is or whatever the block is that you want to rewire. So I find, the sweet spot is usually 6 to 12 sessions. If you really want to clear things out. And, for me, like I do a session weekly and I'm not working on anything specific, just like you. Like I just love the benefits, right? But when I was really working on my money mindset, like I did weekly sessions for 12 weeks. And I really honed in on my money stories, like in a very deep way. So it depends on what you're working on and how deeply wired like that block is into your subconscious.
I know for me, like me personally, I get benefits from every session. Yeah. Like every single session, something has shifted. It doesn't mean I'm cured, because as humans, we're evolving every single day and there'll always be new obstacles. Again, a death is an example, or do you know what I mean, marriage breakdown. There's always things that we're going to have to work on, but whatever it is that comes up on that session, do you know what I mean? I walk away. I've never not walked away from a session going, well, that fucking sucked. Do you know what I mean? What a waste of my time. I'm always like, empowered, inspired. There's normally tears. And that's the other thing. A lot of people will be like, oh, why do I want to give up 45 minutes to feel like hell? I don't necessarily feel like hell. Sometimes you do, because some of the conversations are tough, but the toughness is outweighed by the goodness that comes at the end of the session, where you're like, oh, this is where this shit's been coming from for the last 20 years. Do you know what I mean? Now I see it and it's got a name to it. Right. So I agree with you, though, that I believe anything from a level of continuity, even as an ex-therapist, for example, I would say, that 6 sessions, 4 to 6 sessions baseline, do you know what I mean? Just to kind of get in there, build that trust with your hypnotherapy team, etc. Start to get to understand it a little bit more. And then I just do like top-up sessions, I know, for example, when I was going through, or my ex-husband was about to move out, I did 4 weeks, do you know what I mean, one every week in the lead up to that. And that's the beautiful thing, is you can pick and choose how you need it. It's not prescribed as you must do 50 sessions or you're not healed. It's literally, you can choose 1, you can choose 6. There's no wrong or right way. That's what I love about it. Now, this has been awesome because, like I said, I'm all about normalizing hypnotherapy and what this looks like. Do you have a case study that you want to share about how you used your hypnotherapy skills to help someone in business, so that people can maybe see a little bit more about what this looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work with so many entrepreneurs, and, a lot of like entrepreneurs will come to me and they'll have, for example, a money mindset issue. So this particular man that I worked with came to me to remove money blocks, right? Just thinking there's money stories, there's blocks to money. And when we did our healing work, he went back to a memory from the very early years of his life and relived a traumatic event that was tied to scarcity, but had nothing to do with money, right? And I won't even go into the full details of the memory, but just going back to that memory for him was so liberating and so it was just this open freedom that you feel in your body. It's so hard to describe it with words. Sometimes what happens when you come home to this, and a lot of people will say, well, if I go back over to the bridge of time in my life, am I going to feel like crap, like revisiting some of these memories? And it's like with hypnotherapy, you can revisit some of these really hard, traumatic moments in your life in a way that feels safe and calm. Right. So you're not totally depleted because you're so relaxed, right? You can do this in a relaxed state. So this particular individual went all the way back to this early memory. And he was like, I am just so mind blown because I had no idea this was even like an issue for me in my business. You know what I mean? Like he knew that these things had happened, right? But like to see that it was attached to scarcity mindset and affecting his ability to make money was something he had no clue was even affecting his ability to grow.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, you don't even know, like, and again, I'll give you, I know I've talked about this example before, but since we're talking specifically about hypnotherapy, one of my sessions, the lady's like, what are you here for today? And it was when I did my first 12 kind of all in one go. And I was like, oh, I don't really know. And then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this client pissed me off this week. Now, if you all don't, I love my clients, but if you all don't have clients that piss you off every once in a while, like I call bullshit. But anyways, and I was like, I knew, so this client said, I thought if I worked with you one-on-one, Ange, that I would get all these templates. And in my brain, I'm like, I've already given this person 7 or 8 templates because yes, I might have hundreds of templates, but if I give someone all of those templates, they'll feel overwhelmed. They won't know where to start and then they do nothing. So in my brain, I was like, I knew that was her own triggers were coming up for whatever reason. That was a whole nother conversation. But I was still like, in order to be a better consultant, I was like, I need to figure out why I was triggered from this person to not necessarily avoid it from happening again, but in order to be aware if it happens again, where it's coming from. So she's like, okay, counts me down. And she's like, where are you? She's like, wherever you need to be, you'll be where you're at. Do you mean when we get to 0 after she counts you down? And I was like, yep. And I was in my mom's kitchen and the laptop was opened and I saw my name, my brother's name, and my sister's name on the laptop. And I remember walking past it. And then I remember kind of like stepping back going, why are our names on there? And it was a dating app, or do you know what I mean? One of those things that she was on talking to someone. And it's like, Angela's got a GPA of 4.0. She's in med school, blah, 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 blah. And then stuff about my brother and sister. And I was like, none of this is true. But I never questioned it. I would have been around 2022 when I started doing hypnotherapy. I would have been around 42. So let's say 20 years, I never once had this memory pop back up into my world. Yeah. So she's like, okay. So she's like, when you saw that on the screen of your mom talking to this potential partner or boyfriend or date that she's going out on, and you saw all these lies about you, what was it? And I was like, enoughness. And so when that client triggered me, for example, it went back to subconsciously, well, if I'm not even enough for my mother to tell the truth about me to someone, and she had to make up that I was in medical school when I wasn't, that my GPA was 4.0 when it was like 2.5, do you mean all these things? I was like, then I'm not enough for my clients. I can't even give her enough templates. Oh my God, might not be doing enough for my kids. And I was like, then you start this vortex, right? Yeah. And so, but for 20 years, I had, if you think of a filing cabinet, filed that memory away, and it was still impacting that. Like, again, our subconscious makes up like 97% of the decisions and actions that we do. And I was sitting there going like, oh, this is where it comes from. This makes total sense. So though I'm not cured, do you know what I mean? But there was a lot of things that have come up in hypnotherapy from things with my mom, do you know what I mean? That have it's like, oh yeah, that came up. Okay, yep, I can see why I've been hanging on to that. But then once I knew that, I was able to let go of it. I almost like grieved that period, right? And I came out of that going, okay, I'm ready to tackle this. I know where this is coming from. I've got insight to it. And so whenever I get triggered, I'll start to ask myself questions like, is it enoughness? Do you feel safe? Do you belong? Do you feel lonely? Like I'll start to ask myself, and I can normally tie it back to one of those 4 things. I might not get to the exact say scenario. And that's where if it's still sitting with me, I'm like, another hypnotherapy session, let's see where it actually stemmed from, you know? So I find it fascinating, the power of hypnotherapy, because talking therapy, like I used to do, A, for clients, and B, when I did like talking therapy as a client myself, there would have not been enough sessions in the world for them to have gotten to the root of that problem. There
Exactly.
would have been. We would have talked about how did you feel, maybe, or what did you think, but I still would never have been able to pinpoint that that came from that laptop in my mom's kitchen 20 years ago when she was making up those lies. So that's an example for me about how I view, like how what came up for me in hypnotherapy. And it was like just this beautiful, really easy, very gentle, do you know what I mean, way for me to become in that aware state about what was truly going on.
Yeah.
So
Because,
yes.
it's all subconscious. I actually have another great story that I think would be like wonderful for the listeners from a doctor who I worked with who is trying to start her own practice or private practice. And she just kept getting blocked, wasn't working out. So we did a hypnotherapy session and she learned that the reason why she couldn't get ahead and she couldn't start her own business and grow it in the way that she wanted to is because she had this memory of her mom telling her to be a doctor and she'll never not have a job and she'll always have money. There was this identity crisis of if I'm not a doctor, I won't make money. Right. And this was a memory, again, she had no recollection of until she took this journey into her subconscious mind. And I think it's also important to add that you can't get to your subconscious without silencing your conscious mind. That's why hypnotherapy is so powerful, because you take the conscious mind and it takes a nap, right? All those obsessive thoughts, they just take a nap and you can go into what's true and real.
Now, I also know with hypnotherapy, people, because it's the fear of the unknown, even though we've talked about it today, they're like, I don't know. Let's talk about a couple different ways that people can start testing the waters with hypnotherapy. And I know just so happens, and this wasn't actually planned, but it just so happens that I also know you've just released your own app, for example, around hypnotherapy and the ways that people can access it without it having to be with you, as in a one-on-one session. Tell us a little bit how this app works and how people might want to start using it now as a first step to exploring hypnotherapy before maybe they want to jump in on a one-on-one session with you or with another hypnotherapist. So tell us a little bit about the app.
Absolutely. And, this app is a dream that came to life for me so long ago. And the reason was because I had this influx of clients that I couldn't all book myself because I'm one human, and a lot of them weren't really ready to fully dive into sessions right away. So there could be a lot of you listening right now who are like, let me taste this first, right? Before I dive in and go into my memories. So I created the app so that, it could be an opportunity for individuals to actually try it on, to put it on your own ears. And I'm a firm believer that before you like take something on and say like, this is what I want to do, is to like, try it yourself. Make sure this is for you, right? So my app is called the Empowered app. And I named it the Empowered app because my goal and mission in this world is to help people become more powered from the power within you. So empowered is you're powered by the power within you. So the purpose of this app is so that you can press play every day and, activate this inner power, like tap into your true inner self and then step out into the world. So the sessions that I do with my one-on-one clients are long. They're 45 minutes, sometimes to 90 minutes, depending on the type of session we're doing. But on the Empowered app, they're shorter and more digestible. And I wanted it to be like that so that I know individuals, entrepreneurs are busy, and it's easy to say, I don't have time to do a full 45-minute, session today. Right. But you have 9 minutes, you have 15 minutes. Right.
Yes.
So that was really my intention with it. So that it was, accessible for all, something you can do even on the go, even when you're busy. So it's so exciting because it was such a journey to get it out in the world. And I hadn't even told you it was ready yet, but it's active.
It's ready and active. And for those people who are like, I need a little bit of you in my life, where can they find you? Where's your website? How can they book a hypnotherapy session?
Yeah, so they can find me on giannabadot.com. That's my website. And on the website, there is a page where you can submit an application to work together. So I go through all the applications and I reach out and we have a conversation. So that's actually how I do my onboarding for one-on-one, just to make sure it's absolutely the best possible fit for the both of us, so that we'll chat beforehand. And you can also download the app right on my website. And I'll actually get Angela a code so that you can get some 30-day free access to the app as well.
Fantastic. And we'll make sure that we put that in the show notes for you to be able to access that code. So yes, that would be absolutely awesome for those amazing humans to be able to test drive it, because I do think test driving can be so important, especially when a topic like this can be so foreign for people, right? It's like putting on a good pair of blue jeans. You got to test them on, right, before you like commit to buying them. So that would be absolutely amazing. Now I do have one final question. And my final question is, looking back on your business journey, what do you know now that you wish you knew when you first started out in business?
That it's all within me, right? A lot of the decisions, a lot of the strategies, we have the answers within us, right? And, I think when you do the inner work and you trust yourself, right? Like you're going to be unstoppable no matter what your goals are. So, wherever you are in your business, like bring your inner self on the journey with you, right? You need that part of you in the driver's seat as you're growing and scaling.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And that's the thing is, I think we lose faith in us. We lose confidence in ourselves. We lose all of that. And again, I always believe we have what we need within us. We just have to make time and space to be able to hear those messages that, are within us, because so often they're getting distracted by so many other things. Now, it has been an absolute epic session, and I'm so thrilled that I've been able to bring someone on board. Now, someone might say, Ange, why haven't you done hypnotherapy with Gianna? Here's the thing. I will be, and we've actually got a session planned. I didn't do hypnotherapy with Gianna because she was actually my mentor's right-hand person, and I am very big about boundaries. And I never wanted those boundaries to be skewed between my relationship with my mentor and working with Gianna. However, I am about to start doing some work with Gianna. So I always just like to clarify that if people are like, well, you never used her before. Why haven't you? I'm all about transparency. That is why. But I've got really tight boundaries. And until Gianna no longer works with this particular mentor in the same capacity, for example, and now I feel comfortable, do you know what I mean, from a boundary perspective, to be able to enter into that hypnotherapy practitioner / client relationship. So again, I just think it's important, do you know what I mean, from a transparency perspective for people. Now, for you amazing human listening, my team and I will be putting together the show notes for this episode at angelahenderson.com.au. We'll have all of the websites, the code, the app, and everything over there, so you can grab that there. If you haven't already subscribed to Spotify or Apple so that you can be the first to know of any new episode release, please do so. And don't forget to leave a review, because it puts a smile on my dial. But for now, have an amazing day, you amazing human, no matter where you are in the world. And I look forward to you joining me for another awesome episode of the Angela Henderson Online Business Show. Thanks again for coming on today, my friend.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And I'm going to make the code Angela, so everyone knows the code will be Angela for the app, and you'll need to use it on my actual website for it to work. Okay.
All right, fantastic. Yes, and I'll make sure that we reinforce that at the very beginning of the show notes too. So no, thank you so much, my friend. And I would be running, not walking, do you know what I mean, to the website using the code to get that, because hypnotherapy will change you in more ways than one. So thanks again for today, my friend.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It's been so much fun.
Thanks for listening to the Angela Henderson Online Business Show, www.angelahenderson.com.au.